Hello and welcome. Today we will be talking about what is a Raspberry Pi 4 board, features of the Raspberry Pi 4 board and how to set up Raspberry Pi OS.
The Raspberry Pi 4 is a single-board computer developed by the Raspberry Pi Foundation. It is the fourth generation in the Raspberry Pi series, offering enhanced performance and improved capabilities compared to its predecessors. The Raspberry Pi 4 is widely popular due to its affordability, compact size, and versatility. The Raspberry Pi 4 is a versatile single-board computer that can be used for various purposes. It offers a powerful quad-core processor, different memory options, and connectivity features like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. With its HDMI ports, it can function as a media center or retro gaming console. The Pico header enables connection with sensors and actuators for home automation or IoT projects. It can also serve as a web server, be used in robotics projects, or function as a basic desktop computer. The Raspberry Pi 4 provides a platform for learning, experimentation, and creative projects across a wide range of fields. The features of the Raspberry Pi 4 is a powerful single-board computer with a quad-core ARM Cortex-A72 processor and memory options of 2 GB, 4 GB, and 8 GB LPDDR4 RAM. It offers built-in Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and Gigabit Ethernet for connectivity. The Raspberry Pi 4 supports dual 4K displays through its dual micro HDMI ports and has USB 3.0 and USB 2.0 ports for peripheral connections. It is compatible with various operating systems, including Raspbian, and has a Pico header for hardware projects. Overall, the Raspberry Pi 4 is a versatile and flexible device suitable for learning, multimedia, networking, and IoT projects. To install Raspberry Pi OS using the Raspberry Pi Imager tool, follow these steps. Download and install Raspberry Pi Imager. Visit the official Raspberry Pi website, www.raspberrypi.org, and download the Raspberry Pi Imager tool suitable for your operating system. Install the Imager tool on your computer. Launch Raspberry Pi Imager. Open the Raspberry Pi Imager tool after installation. Select the operating system. In the Raspberry Pi Imager, click on Choose OS and select Raspberry Pi OS, Other, from the list. Choose the storage medium. Click on Choose SD card and select the SD card you want to use for the installation. Ensure you select the correct SD card drive to avoid overwriting data on other devices. Click on Write, double-check that you have selected the correct SD card and Raspberry Pi OS version. Click on Write to start the installation process. Wait for the installation. The Raspberry Pi Imager will download the selected Raspberry Pi OS image and write it onto the SD card. This process may take a few minutes depending on your internet connection speed and the size of the image. Eject the SD card. Once the installation is complete, safely eject the SD card from your computer. Insert the SD card into the Raspberry Pi. Insert the prepared SD card into the SD card slot of your Raspberry Pi. Power on the Raspberry Pi. Connect the power supply to the Raspberry Pi to boot it up. Wait for the boot process to complete. Initial setup. Upon first boot, Raspberry Pi OS will guide you through the initial setup process. Follow the on-screen instructions to configure settings such as language, time zone, password, and expand the file system. Using the Raspberry Pi Imager tool simplifies the installation process by handling the image download and writing to the SD card automatically. It ensures you have the latest and official version of Raspberry Pi OS. To connect a Raspberry Pi 4, you will need the following. Get your Raspberry Pi 4 board ready. Power supply. Connect a micro USB power supply to the Raspberry Pi 4. Make sure to use a power supply that meets the recommended specifications for the Raspberry Pi 4, typically 5 volts and at least 2.5A. HDMI cable. Connect an HDMI cable from the micro HDMI ports on the Raspberry Pi 4 to your display device, for example, monitor, TV. USB peripherals. Connect USB peripherals such as a keyboard and mouse to the USB ports on the Raspberry Pi 4. You can use either USB 2.0 or USB 3.0 ports depending on your peripheral requirements. Network connection. If you want to connect your Raspberry Pi 4 to a wired network, use an Ethernet cable to connect the Ethernet port on the Raspberry Pi 4 to your router or switch. Alternatively, for wireless connectivity, make sure the built-in Wi-Fi is enabled on the Raspberry Pi 4. You can configure this during the initial setup. Storage. Insert a microSD card into the microSD card slot on the Raspberry Pi 4. The microSD card should have the operating system installed, for example, Raspberry Pi OS, for the Raspberry Pi 4 to boot from. Audio output, optional. If you want audio output, you can connect speakers or headphones to the 3.5mm audio jack on the Raspberry Pi 4. Once all the connections are made, power on the Raspberry Pi 4 by plugging in the power supply. The Raspberry Pi 4 should boot up and display its operating system on the connected display device. Thanks for watching.